Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the new-ish Marvel Legends Charles Xavier, part of the House of X, Marvel's Tri-Sentinel. Are there other Tri-Sentinels? Anyway, Wave of Marvel Legends, whatever, I don't know what I was saying anymore, but this is the new Xavier figure, probably the most exciting release for the last decade or so. So there's lots to talk about. We're going to probably spend a good bit of time just looking at the aesthetic on this thing. But like I said, lots to talk about. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 16.5 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to just shy of 6.5 inches, I suppose. And before we get into anything, let's go ahead and do question of the day. Are you or are you not a fan of this current arc for X-Men, this House of X thing? It seems to be pretty popular. I know very little about it. I haven't looked into it too much yet, but I seem to be getting mostly positive comments, but some people seem to really hate it. So let me know in the comment section below how you feel about that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the figure, the aesthetics here. I want to note that I think whoever designed this look for Charles Xavier probably works for Hasbro, only because this thing is like pure profit. I mean, obviously we have a couple of heads, but otherwise it is about as cheap a production figure as you could get out of the Marvel Legends line. And that's not really to fault it. Like I don't blame Hasbro. It's the character design. They really couldn't have done anything with this other than throw some shading on there, which I'm gonna say right off the bat. It's a solid, almost black piece of plastic. A little bit of shading would have helped make it not feel like a total ripoff. That said, he is wearing a solid black spandex jumpsuit. It's not a jumpsuit, what would that be called? Bodysuit. So I can't fault Hasbro for anything. I'm sure a lot of you were expecting me to tear into this. I want to, but it's more so the character design than it is the figure. It's 100% the character design. They don't have a better body for this. I wouldn't expect them to make a new body for this. And it is like probably 85-90% accurate to the way he's drawn in this arc anyway. So I don't fault Hasbro at all. Is it a cheap ass figure? Yes. Is it their fault? No. This is maybe the one time I will tell Hasbro they did a great job by making this as cheap as possible, because other than shading, they couldn't have done anything else. So I can't knock them for that. The helmet's done really well. I use the word helmet. I don't know if you want to really call it that, but it's nice and sharp. It's got really good sculpt work. The tubers are well attached, well sculpted. The paint job is clean. The edges around the X are clean. The face underneath is fitting. Like, I have no complaints other than a lack of shading. So I can't even give it a bad score for the aesthetic, because that's what it's supposed to look like. The only downside is the lack of shading. So for the aesthetic, I'm going to give this guy an 8 out of 10. It's almost exactly what it was supposed to be as far as Hasbro's concerned. So good job, Hasbro. You picked the right one to stick in there and get a few extra nickels. I don't blame them at all for doing that. As far as accessories go, we have the best Charles Xavier head so far, which is the one with the radiating circles of psychic energy, and I think that's a great accessory. I like that. I like that way more than the poof accessory that they had on that other one. I think it was one that came with the chair. I like this one a whole lot. I think that suits him perfectly, and the sculpt is pretty darn good. Basic paint, but it is what it needs to be. And then we do get a couple hands. That's definitely not an offensive accent. So we have one gripping hand that comes on him in the package, and one kind of neutrally style pose hand that comes on him in the package. Not sure what those are really good for, but then we get two hands which are definitely good for something. One is for pointing, and it has the appropriate hinge for that. And then one is for touching his temple, which also is appropriately sculpted and articulated. So no complaints there. I guess you could use the gripping hands for whatever you feel like. So that's a good call. He doesn't really need fist hands. So again, good call on Hasbro. They did everything right with this figure as far as I can tell so far. So for accessories, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. A head and appropriately sculpted hands. No complaints. No complaints so far. As far as articulation goes, there's not going to be really a whole lot to talk about. We've seen this all before, but we're going to do it anyway. I don't think you're going to need a whole lot for Professor X, but if you wanted to put him in some crazy poses, which is the whole point of action figures in the first place, you can probably do that. So you can lean up pretty far, lean his head back. Down, no problem. Rotation, of course, is no problem. Just a touch of attitude, just a little bit there. That'll be okay. No leaning side to side. Butterfly joint on this mold is, it's there. It does almost nothing, but it'll be enough for some adjustment posing. you know, some subtle poses, that'll be fine, no issues. Shoulder goes up to horizontal, that's fine. Full rotation, no issues there. Bicep swivel's fine, double jointed elbow, fine. Wrists swivel and hinge, of course. Ab crunch on this guy is oddly high and kind of weird looking. You could definitely put him in some weird poses if you want to. Pizza oven going right there. That's not great. Going forward, it does go down forward. Crunch is all right. Yeah, it's still a weird ass torso. I know you're thinking, well, the torso hinge is mostly at the bottom of the rib cage, and you're pretty much right. But he's got an extraordinarily long lower torso, which is the same complaint we've had for this body since the beginning. So I can't really fault Hasbro again for that, other than it is still bad in the way it was before. Waist twist is fine. He can kick all the way up. If you remember, this was a Spider-Man mold, so it makes sense that he doesn't have very good out to the side posing, just about 45 degrees. Thigh swivel, that's sarcasm. Thigh swivel is fine, double jointed knee is fine. Ankles go all the way back, which is pretty good, and more than far enough forward, so that's good, and these feet do get a really nice ankle rocker. So yeah, it is what, can't fault him for it. I mean, it is what it is. So again, the articulation on this thing, other than the torso, it's pretty solid. You know, I'll give it another 8. So surprisingly enough, this figure being probably the crappiest, I use air quotes for that, crappiest release in the wave, in the batch, it is what it's supposed to be. You can't blame Hasbro for that. They did what they were supposed to do. So this figure is going to get an 8 out of 10. I hate doing that. It's just a black piece of plastic with almost completely reused parts, but that's not their fault. So 8 out of 10. If you wanted this look for Xavier, you will not be disappointed. A little bit of shading on there would have gone a long way, but otherwise it's fine. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.